Hi, and welcome to Business Influencers. Hope everyone is having a great week. We are so glad that you're here. And if it's your first time, Business Influencers is all about you. We hear every week where we bring in experts from around the world to share their words of wisdom and their personal experiences in helping you to move your personal success in business to the next level. We are committed to this each and every week, so your input is highly valuable to help us better serve you going forward. So we love to hear from you. So check us out and reach out to us at chris@christophersalem.com, and we'd be more than happy to take your input and apply that for a future show that will deliver the content that will help you bring your business and personal success to the next level. Today's show is being brought to you today by Alumni Direct. They are a new social media community platform dedicated to strengthening relationships with people that you went to school with, a chance to rekindle old relationships, meet new people for the first time. And this is across all different generation types. It takes all the noise out of social media that you experience with other platforms. And this is an opportunity to come in on your time to develop genuine, authentic relationships, sharing content of interest, making new connections, perhaps landing your next new job opportunity or starting a business with a future partner. Check them out at alumnidirect.com. That's alumnidirect.com. Well, as I mentioned, we got a great show for you here today. We're going to be talking about uplevel your speech to influence. And as you know here, we're all about business influence, as Business Influencers is dedicated to helping elevate your level of business by raising your level of influence. Well, we have an enlightened communication specialist. Her name is Dr. Miluna Fausch. And, I'm going to give you a little background about her before we bring her on. She's a Forbes author, has an intuitive and scientific perspective from her experience in a 9-to-5 retail sales as a businesswoman and as an actor. She has a BS in the music business and a PhD in holistic psychology, extensive training in business, voice, and acting, and is certified as a miracle-minded coach by Marianne Williamson. She created her exclusive Vocal Archetypes, which is trademarked to train executives and thought leaders in confident, effective, high-frequency speaking and stage presence. She loves to attend concerts and lectures, travel, wine tasting, carries a Swiss passport, and is a huge fan of Formula One auto racing. And without further ado, we welcome Dr. Miluna Fausch to the show. Miluna, how you doing?
I am well. Thank you so much, Chris.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here and to have you here. And, when we talk about, influence, we're all about like, how can we be more compelling to our audiences, no matter what business you're in, if you're a speaker or using speaking to, to help grow your business. Talk about the importance of your speech and why that is, such an important thing.
Yes, in my mind, it has 6 elements, what I call evolved, mature communication. What real leaders, thought leaders, visionary folks, CEOs can be doing. It's consciousness, clarity, courage, courtesy, compassion, and inclusion. And for me, it's really the art of charisma. And charisma means a personal magic of leadership, arousing loyalty or enthusiasm. We use that word a lot in showbiz, right? That star has such charisma. But to me, it's the same for executives and leaders. It means that folks want to lean in. They want to help us achieve our mission, our purpose, fundraise, get elected for office, make that difference, start that nonprofit. It's all of this and more.
Wow, that's fabulous. And can you talk a little bit about, because when you are trained in this area as an actor, a lot of times I know, how this can be, you can transfer these skills over, into, the business world and to be a better influencer. What would be the process, Dr. Miluna, that you would recommend somebody in, really learning to up-level their speech and how they communicate, to other people?
Yes, I consider showbiz the best training in the world for this, which is why I began to work with business people. It's understanding how to be big on stage. It's understanding that on the little camera we're on, the Hollywood squares, you bring it down a bit, but that energy is no different whether we're on a huge stage or an auditorium, as a speaker, as the leader of a company. What we need to know is to eliminate the static, the filler words, ums and ahs, like, so, you knows, all of the words that are filling up space, and they're just creating a disconnect. It's the ability to be still and stay in our body instead of turning into the just from the mind, someone speaking from the mind, which has its own limits. It's presenting and telling that story. It's not about your PowerPoint or your presentation, reading it. We could read that via email. We want to know your perspective. Why does this matter? Tell us your story, bring it to life. And when we use definite, what I call purposeful, intentional words, and we learn to have dynamics, camera technique, understanding the camera really is your friend. There's nothing to be afraid of. You simply connect the same way you do in person. Maybe a little trickier, but that's what we do. And when you combine all of these elements with a clear voice and specific language, that's when you begin to influence and enroll people, because they can relate. Oh, I understand what that means. Oh, that's something I want to be involved with. Oh, that's something I could contribute to.
Yeah, that's so true. And I always find when you just said, when somebody feels related to and understood, you've now, without them knowing this consciously or not, they feel, because they feel related to and understood, you've now gotten to the point what's really important to them. And when that happens, you built a level of rapport with them where they're more likely to either ask more questions, solidify what's really important to them, and then more likely to do their part to have a better experience, whatever your product or service is that could help them move themselves forward or their businesses forward.
Thank you, Chris. It is. It's beginning the dialogue.
Yeah.
It's not ending. That's the beginning, as you said. Now we know what questions to ask. Now we can go deeper. What does that client really need or want? Now we can begin that meaningful. If we just stay surface, or we're just spouting out the last quarter's results, that has its place, but it doesn't lead to meaningful, deep relationships where we can really serve our customers, clients, public, whomever it is that we are here to serve.
Yeah, no, so true. So true. And when you see this, like right now in the business world, Dr. Miluna, how important is it that, people recognize that communication is usually the number one problem, what keeps people stuck? And then at the same token, if they can make these adjustments in how to really elevate their tone, their speech, how this can could be a game changer, not only internally in their companies, but how that reflects to their customers. What would be some of the things that people that maybe understand that on some level, but they're not yet connecting the dots? What would be some things you can share that could help them to better understand long-term how this can really impact and take their business to another level?
Yes, for me, of course, it's foundational.
I love it.
This is the foundation.
Yes.
I echo what you just said. We're so in love with the left brain, the technology, et cetera, et cetera. Well, that's great. Technology can do wonderful things. You and I are Zooming. We've got our lights, our camera. All of this matters. But as we said at the beginning, if we don't know that you care about us and we're a customer, then how can we go any further than that? It leads to broken relationships, breaking down in transactions. You know what it's like when you call a company and you cannot get a person. You cannot get a person who has the authority to fix your problem. And so it just leaves us feeling removed, sometimes angry, like we don't matter. And it's the tone of voice. I can sound very angry. I can have emotion that can be misunderstood. However, if I understand my voice is at the correct pitch with carrying power, it's not too high or too nasal or something that would be very hard to listen to. If I have set an intention and purpose for this speech or this interaction or this presentation, then I'm anchored deeper and wider, and I can now have an impact. When we have a specific way of greeting people at our business place, when we're introducing meetings, when they walk into our retail store, that's something we never forget. And I think that's what we're missing. We're skipping over that introduction, that professionalism, that etiquette that lets people know, no, you're the most important thing.
Yeah.
And that's our job. It's both what I say, it's our responsibility and our joy to evolve and advance that communication that we're putting out to the world. It's our voice and branding.
No, it's so true. And can you talk about the importance of the consistency with that? Because if we're doing this once in a while, then are we really, no, it's not going to register. You're not changing how you position you and your brand to your audience, and nothing is changing internally, which is more important than to reflect on the outside. To discuss like the power of consistency in this area, why that's so important.
I love that. It's being true to yourself and your values, and that may or may not be the same. My personal values are pretty much my business values. But it's up to us to know that. We can't be shifting and changing and being batted around by everything that's out there, because there's so many opinions and so many, news and fake news and noise and distraction. So we have to understand, what is that voice ultimately? And what is that mission? And we need to be able to articulate that and continue to articulate that. We know the best slogans in the world from recognizable companies, Just Do It, Nike, those have never shifted. Those are still the same. We can remember jingles to commercials for years. It is lodged in our memory. It's lodged in our heart. So it's up to us to stay in our lane, on our track, on our purpose. We might say it a little differently. We might grow it a bit, but we need to know fundamentally what that is.
Yeah, you got to almost like what I'm hearing, like when you got to not only think this way consistently, you got to be it, to become it, to do it now different. Now you can do these tactics differently because you have the foundation that you talked about, and then striving for different and better results as a reflection of that. Yeah,
Yes. Thank you. We must be it, become it, practice it. That's how we grow into the leadership.
Yeah.
Some folks think yelling is a leadership.
That was my first introduction to, I guess, so-called leadership back in 1990. I guess that was the way it was. It doesn't work anymore. There could be a lot of harassment type lawsuits now as a result of that.
We really need to move beyond that, don't we? It's not the militaristic. It's just not the way that folks want to play anymore and work. It's not an environment where people feel safe and are learning to express, following the model of a beautiful businessman or woman or person.
Yeah, that's so true. So true. So what could be some other things you could share, when it comes to upleveling your speech, communication, some things that you can share with the audience? Would you say that it's safe to say that it's, if you have a company And it doesn't matter if you're, a small company, a big company, or even a one person, business. It has to start at the individual level, for things, because, we're always looking to the outside for somebody else to take the initiative to do it. But it starts, I always think that would it start at the individual level? It's got to be a personal responsibility.
Absolutely it is. Because how can we lead a company if we ourselves are not looking at that?
Yeah.
It always starts at home. We don't like it. We want to pass the buck, not take responsibility. But the only way to have personal power and influence is to take 100% responsibility. So I like to start with my folks a stillness practice, because a lot of us have stage fright. That's something I had to overcome. Public speaking is still a huge fear. I think it's still the number one fear. That's not going away. And so when we can stay in our body and not allow the sympathetic nervous system to take over, which is when the adrenaline is released and we get nervous and the energy goes up to our head, and now we can't remember. And now we react versus respond. So I like to invite my folks to stay in the body by breathing, by expanding their energy, wiggling the big toes to keep them in the body. You can also squeeze the buttock muscles. Yes, you can. And that causes the blood and the oxygen to remain in the core of your body, not at the extremities. So you're interrupting that physical response, because stage fright is just a reaction to being in an unnatural position, the spotlight. Our reptilian brain thinks we're not safe there. Yeah. Remember when we used to have to run to the cave to escape the wild animals?
Oh, yeah. If you're out hunting for your meal.
Exactly. Our body still has that. And so first we want to anchor that and master that stage fright. And I have a lot of techniques to do that from show business. And then, as we mentioned earlier, set an intention for each meeting, each speech, each time you're interacting with an employee or your stakeholder or your investor. What is the purpose of this meeting? Are we here to make a decision? Do we need to raise more funds? Am I pitching? Am I here to get elected for office or for a board position? And be very clear how you're going to show up. How will your words reflect that? They need to speak very deliberate. Here's my intention and here's what I want. So we're not going to say things like try. We either do or don't. We don't try. We're not kind of, sort of gonna do it. You're either going to do it or you're not. This indefinite language that I hear all the time, kinda. No, we're either going to do it or not.
Exactly.
And when we will gain that clarity, and one good way is to audio record ourselves. Audio record. How are you showing up? Are you saying that the way you think you are? Also slowing down our pace. Most people speak way too fast.
Yes.
We are in global communities, as you know, different cultures. People are listening. They're reading our lips if they've got the visual cues, so that we're more likely to be understood.
Yeah, like you said, we live in this diverse world, and not everybody, English may not be the primary language for some people you're talking to. And so if we speak more slowly, by pause in between, we give people that opportunity to absorb what is said. And the more, would it be safe to say, like, again, the more specific, clear, and concise we can be, the better. Because a lot of times the communication is based on assumption and speculation. And that's what leads to a whole variety of different problems with people, because people just assume they thought what the person meant or what they were looking for. And then things go unfulfilled, and then there's resentments, and that just takes them down a toxic lane of just nothing good could come from that.
Absolutely, Chris. That's where the breakdowns begin. And they can begin so easily. because we're all thinking our own thing and we only have our own experience and perspective to draw from.
Mm.
So if we will not be afraid, I'll say, let's not be afraid of clear speech. Let's return to the civility and the respect. The chances are, if I'm, and you know this in your own life, I test this in my own life all the time. Was I clear? And the more I'm clear and state exactly what I want, the more likely I get it.
Mm.
And the more likely I'm received in the way that I think. Now, if I'm not confident, or I feel bad, or I'm turning down, or I'm kind of, sort of trying, how can that person understand my clarity? Because I'm in murky land.
Yeah.
I'm all in murky land. So it's ordering from the menu of, I don't know, or I like everything, or I don't like anything. We can't expect that other person to know and answer if we don't know. So the more professional, precise, specific, dynamic, clear, heart-centered, the better your chances of being understood and not misunderstood. At the very least, they'll know what questions to begin to ask us.
Yeah.
I think I heard you say this. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And off we go. Now we can have some great fun and get some great results.
Yeah. It's almost like, and again, it doesn't matter. Would it be safe to say that it doesn't matter if it's the sender or the receiver who asked that clarifying question, because it's a responsibility of both sides, not just one or the other. So if we don't understand, like, hey, I required this right away. What does that mean? Top of the hour, later today, tomorrow? I could just assume what when you say I required this at the end of the day. Did you mean at the top of the hour? Did you mean at 12 o'clock? Did you mean at this time? So the more specific it is, now I have a clearer understanding how to reprioritize what I have to do in order to get something done. And that took no more than 15 additional seconds to do that. That could have saved a lot of problems and grief and resentments in the long run.
What a great example.
Yeah.
And it's so simple, but we're not always doing that, are we? Yes, I have no idea what top of the hour means. We could assume that means 12 noon Pacific.
Yeah.
Now, you're in a different time zone. So
Yeah.
now we've already got, what does that mean?
It's already 3 hours ahead from where exactly.
You're right. We're currently living West Coast, East Coast at our lives right now. And maybe I'm on the Zoom with somebody in the UK. I believe we're at 9-hour time difference right now, if I'm correct.
Yes, I think it's about well, actually it's 8 hours, 8-hour difference.
8. All right. I'm going with Switzerland, and it's 9, I believe, right now.
I think for Switzerland, it'll be 9. UK will be 8, and then Switzerland will be 9. Yes.
Perfect. Because we switch times here in the US. Not all countries switch time zones too. Yes. So that's another discussion. We must be that specific, because how much time and energy and tempers, anger, resentment, because we simply didn't say, I need that in 15 minutes. And here's why. And hopefully that wasn't a breakdown that you now must have it in 15 minutes. But maintain your courtesy and be specific. That will save companies millions of dollars just by doing that.
Yes, no, absolutely. And I think like what you said is that when we're able to do these things up front, no matter, if you start today, it's better to start sooner than later. We can offset so many issues in the long run. And we create like you said, create a level of influence that's much higher internally that will reflect externally out to your customers and clients from there. I think it's so, and I always like to say it's an inside job, first before, you just direct it to the outside and you're not doing the things that are necessary on the inside. In this case, like you said, not just the inside of the organization, but that people are doing that from their own individual inside out to make those changes.
It's always an inside job.
Yeah.
It really is. And as you said, set the expectations early. In fact, that should be done anytime you're interviewing someone. Yes, a new person. Set the expectation, because what do we know? If you're clear and you set that expectation, most people want to rise and meet your expectation. If we set the bar too low, or we haven't been clear with our expectation, I'm not sure we can expect the other person to live up to that because we have not articulated it.
Yeah.
So we get clear inside first, and then we figure out, how can I best say that? And then enter into the 100% responsibility. So if I say something and based on what they say, I know I didn't say that well, I immediately say, that was not clear. Let me say that another way. Until we are pretty much being understood and my expectation has been clearly spoken.
Yeah. No, so true. We're coming down close to the end of the show. And I wanted to let the audience know about where, how they can get in contact with you. Is there any final comment that you would like to share in the next minute that can really just solidify everything you talked about upleveling in your speech to raise your level of influence?
I would say find your own voice, which is your personal voice, your voice as a CEO, executive, business owner, and then speak it on purpose. Care enough to speak and present at your very best.
I love that. That is so true. And we highly recommend everybody that is listening to take notes, and you can listen to the show anytime in its entirety as well, because Dr. Miluna has dropped a lot of great information here, and these are things that can make a huge difference in your personal life and your business. And we hope that, again, you get in contact with her. And by the way, we would love to have you connect with our audience. Dr. Miluna, what is the best way they can get in contact with you? What are you up to? Anything you'd like to provide them?
Thank you. My website is milunafausch.com. I believe that will be written out because it is a tricky spelling. Is that true?
Correct.
We'll have the visual milunafausch.com. And I'd like to announce I did launch my first book with Forbes in March. And so I'm honored and proud to say my new book is Uplevel Your Communication. Evolve your presence and speech to change everything. So that's available at your favorite bookstore right now.
Wow. Well, we have we highly recommend that everybody take advantage of Dr. Miluna's book. Reach out to her, reach out, check her out on her website, reach out to her to set up a time to make an appointment. There's a lot of great information. We can only have so much information in one show, but there is a ton of stuff that she's willing to help you with. And again, we highly encourage you to also reach out to her on her social media, on LinkedIn, at Dr. Miluna. There's also, that's the acronym DR, also on Facebook at Dr. Miluna, that's the spelling out whole D-O-C-T-O-R Miluna, all one word. And of course, you can find her on Instagram and also Twitter as well. So feel free to reach out. And Dr. Miluna, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be with us here today. We greatly appreciate you and everything and all that you do to help people and businesses worldwide.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so very much.
Well, thank you. And thank you, guests and your listeners each and every day for coming in each and every week to listen to Business Influencers. Again, we'd like to hear from you at chris@christophersalem.com. Drop us a line, give us some comments, any feedback that can help us provide the content and the subject matter experts that are going to help move your business and personal success to the next level. It's because of you why the show is here, and we'll continue to keep showing up to bringing in guests like Dr. Miluna in to help elevate and raise your level of influence and your business moving forward. Till then, everybody, we want to wish everyone a great rest of your week, and we'll see you next week. Have a great day.